Hi, I'm Shaman Harper.
Hi, I'm Yolanda Harper.
Yeah, Harper.
Harper.
And we are here at Harper Therapy today.
Our office is in Lutz, Florida, in the Tampa Bay area.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we wanted to talk about core values.
Core values. It's one of those things that's super important in our lives, but one of those things that we don't talk about. Right. So I was introduced, and I will say, like, this core values piece is something that I talk with every client as we're getting started because it's so much a part of who we are.
Fundamentally, it is who we are.
Right. Yeah. So I was introduced to this concept of core values really as I was doing the Daring Way training in facilitating Brene Brown's work. Hobbs is wanting to get into his crate. And in that I was like, oh my gosh, where has this concept been all my life? Because most of us don't take time to really pause and think about what our values are and really...
Right. And I think when you first introduced it to me, it seemed kind of...
You were like, duh.
Yeah.
Right.
It seemed kind of very face value, but like it is so important to who you are and who your partner is.
Yeah.
And
I mean, we've appreciated the value of the core values as we have spent more time with it.
Because everything builds on it. Really.
Everything builds on it.
Right.
Yeah. So what's the definition of a core value?
Well, first we have to start with our core equation.
You have a really phenomenal equation.
So we've come up with this equation. Actually, I don't know if we've come up with it or
this is the Harper original.
Right?
This is Harper original.
Okay. So we have this equation that says core values plus loving communication equals intimacy.
Yeah.
So
it's a way of connecting more deeply, understanding your partner's core values, and communicating lovingly. Yeah.
So for all the analytical people like me out there, that's kind of like, oh.
They're using your left brain.
Is that what brain? I don't know which
something
one,
like
but something like that. So core values is really what we want to talk about in that context, right?
Yeah. So now can you give the definition of core values?
Well, okay. They are traits or beliefs that define us.
Yeah.
They identify us, right?
Yeah.
They're things that we really hold to our core, and they tend to be non-negotiable.
Yeah. I mean, if they're part of who I am at my core, then there's not a lot of wiggle room there.
They kind of fuel our actions.
Yeah.
Right.
When we're our best selves, they fuel our actions, right? Because we don't always act from that place. Because we're human.
Right. But I think one of the really interesting pieces of this is they can be like fuel for connection.
Yeah.
Or they can be like the agent of absolute combustion in relationships, right?
Yeah. So knowing our own core values and knowing our partner's core values, that is a touch point, a way to our partner's heart, our partner's spirit, our partner's soul, because we know that those people who are most successful in their relationships will take that knowledge about their partner's core values and hold it with honor and respect, right, and value it.
Right. And having an understanding of that can be uber important, when you're trying to communicate with your partner.
It is.
So, why is it important then?
Why is it
I'm asking you.
Oh, you're asking me. Because it allows for this deeper connection, right? And because it can give us some information on how to navigate through the tender spots.
Right.
And so that we don't poke the combustion in one another. Right? So that we can recognize those are there.
It's like absolutely foundational.
Yeah.
So like your relationship to your communication to...
So let's do this. What are some examples of core values?
So honesty
is
a big one. Integrity is one of mine.
Right.
Respect. We were throwing a few out there the other day when we were kind of talking through this, and we said like financial security.
Yeah. So this is how I think the financial security one is a good example of how core values show up in our relationships, because if I grew up in a household where things weren't very secure, we're always kind of at wits ends trying to make ends meet, and I had a dad who would hide purchases from a mom and then hear them argue about money, then financial security is a centerstone for me, right?
Right. I mean, it could be, yes, definitely.
It can be a centerstone for me. And so if I'm married to a partner who is a little bit more free-handed with spending money, that's going to feel very insecure. Right. And so as that partner, I can recognize if financial security is a core value of my partner, I can take that into account.
Right.
Right.
I mean, these things tend to have like a backstory too.
Yeah.
Right. They kind of get created through our experience.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. If integrity is a core value, what's the story behind that?
Right.
Right. You grew up in a household that integrity was of high regard.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, respect. We both grew up in military families, so for both of us, respect is something that is super important.
Right.
Grew up in a military house and in the South.
Right.
That's a combination.
That is a combination, and I think, like sometimes you may or may not have shared core values, right? Like, for us, I think humor is one. We like to laugh. I like to make her laugh.
But I think that's something that we came to after doing an equine session together. Like that was there, but we recognized it as such after spending some time kind of addressing it and really getting an understanding of that. And so now we focus on it more. We allow that to be more of a priority. We emphasize it more, right? Now, after that experience, after having that understanding, I kind of allow the humor more because I can be a very serious person, right? And for there to be some humor there kind of would almost mean not important, but that shifted for me now that there's this focus on humor as a value for us in our relationship.
And I'm rarely a serious person.
so it's a good thing I was able to shift.
Yeah, it's really good for you.
it has benefited me for sure. Sure. So another important piece of the core values is being clear about what your behaviors are that are in alignment with your values. So if respect is a core value or if faith is a core value, what does faith look like in action? Right. What does spirituality look like in action? What does health look like in action? What are those behaviors?
Right. That align with those core values look like when you're acting them out.
Yeah.
Right.
And what does it look like when you're not in alignment? What are those behaviors that you're like,
Right, because that's the rub.
I really dropped the ball on that one.
Right. And when it's not in alignment with what you believe, you struggle with it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And then knowing those behaviors for our partner, having this conversation to say, these are my behaviors that are in alignment with my values. This is some of those behaviors that when I'm not in alignment, and here's how I would like for you to support me when you see those behaviors. Right? Here's how we can connect. Here's how you can be my go-to person. Here's how we can be each other's go-to person.
So I think it's safe to say, like, it's really important for you to understand your core values.
Super.
And then it's very important for you to understand your partner's core values. Because, that's going to lead to, like, healthy communication.
The deeper conversation.
Healthy actions and healthy behavior for your relationship.
Yeah. Because then you can come up from a place of, like, I get it. I get it why this is important to you.
Right.
Yeah. I get it. Why this
it even informs how you communicate, right? Like, I know this is a value to you, so I should communicate in a way that reaches you there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Knowing that integrity and respect are core values for you kind of helps me as I am wanting to communicate things with you. So maybe a certain time is not a good time. Maybe there's more a respectful time to have a conversation. Right? So I take those things into account and still have the conversations, but do it in a way that sets both of us up for success, right? You to be able to hear what I'm saying and me to be able to say what needs to be said.
Right.
So those are some examples of core values in your relationship. Right. What are your core values?
And by no means was our list exhaustive at all.
No. And you can check out the blog coming up for a more extensive list of core values. But we'd love to hear from you about what your core values are, what you think your partners are. Go ahead and have a conversation with your partner about what core values they are.
Right. It's a good conversation.
It's a good conversation. It's very enlightening. Do it with your kids, too. It's great.
Might shock yourself and your partner.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. So, friends, happy Wednesday.
Hump day.
Go forth and enjoy. We'll talk to you guys soon.